Hello dear friends, welcome to our batch creation video. Congratulations! You have everything ready to assist Mother Nature. You have the food waste, the brown material, the space, the tools, and last but not least, the energy to make compost happen. You're going to start with an informal measuring task. The first measurement basically represents the bed layer that is going to receive the first lot of food waste. As you can see, I am using the 38-liter container because that's where I measured the food waste as well. What you want is the bed layer to be equivalent in volume to one part as the food waste, which is approximate 18 liters. Of course, you can use a container of your preference as long as you keep track with the volumes so you don't miss on the recipe. The bed layer is already placed on the ground of the compost area and you will start shaping it with the dimensions listed. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfectly accurate, don't worry about it too much. And once in shape, time to grab your tools and start placing the food waste on top of the bed layer. Think about the browns as the lasagna pasta and the food waste as the sauce. Just like doing a lasagna, consider this process essential that needs to be done very carefully. That's why having a gardening spade and a small shovel will guarantee success as they're very easy to handle and you don't have to use your bare hands. Now, food waste has to be put in the center, leaving a tolerance on the circumference because you don't want food waste being exposed to undesirable fauna. There is going to be a moment that there is no more room for our sauce in this level, reason why we are doing the second informal measurement of our pasta. The amount of browns will be used for the next layer of our recipe. Again, this is equivalent to one part in volume in comparison with the food waste, which is approximate 18 liters. As you can see, a bunch of browns are being placed sufficiently to cover the first layer of food waste. So just make sure to compact a bit to make it solid enough to handle the next level. You'll notice that as you go up on the layers, the smaller the available space you have. At the end of the day, we want to develop a type of cone pyramid shape. The important thing is that food waste is accumulated always in the center, so your batch can reach high temperatures in it. And that would be because the compost biology will concentrate where the food waste is. Think of it like if you were in a closed small room with other people and all of you are eating and working out at the same time. Do you think temperature would increase in the room? I think it would. If you have the right configuration in your batch, the biology will do the same way. You are doing an excellent job. You're doing it awesome. Keep layering as it goes. Remember to always compact a bit to make the batch solid and prepare to the next chunk of sauce. Sorry here, friends. Me handling the food waste like that might not be the best method, but as I mentioned before, you always can have the container that makes the food waste manipulation easier. Recipe is almost done. So far, 3 layers of pasta and 3 layers of sauce have been placed. Compacting again a bit so it is not loose and also to have a little bit more room for the food waste. Of course, as you gain experience, you will start to get a feeling of confidence in how to handle it better and better every time you do it. In these little moments, my friends, is where the compost mindset and mindfulness are found. It is in those details really. And it brings satisfaction when you become aware that you are doing something beyond amazing for Mother Earth. You can see almost I am communicating with the batch like I'm patting it. Guess what? I'm actually manifesting that the compost is gonna be great. Placing at the moment the 4th brown layer, and you can tell that all the dry leaves from the second measurement are being used, indicating that so far 18 liters of dry leaves have been placed, but only for the intermediate layers. So there are still some greens remaining, or food waste, which are going to be placed at the top of the pyramid, creating our 4th and last layer of food waste. Once you're done with all the food waste, compact the top to make it solid. You don't want to compact it too much, as you wouldn't allow the air to flow freely through the materials. Remember, air is the main key for the recipe. And this, my friends, is pretty much what we are going to call a compost batch. The 3rd and last brown material measurement is going to be used for the 5th and last layer of the batch. Same amount as the previous brown material measurements, by the way. 18 liters or 5 gallons of dry leaves are added. Important thing to mention, you're not going to consider this layer as part of the compost process, as it is just the cover. However, it is going to be extremely relevant, not as the main product, which is compost, but as a byproduct that is going to be called mulch or leaf mulch. I very much recommend using extra protection besides the brown cover layer, enough to keep the batch intact. In this case, I use an accessible net that I think you can get anywhere. This is what we call a holding unit. Maybe getting one but with a stronger material and a smaller hole will suit better for you. In the next weeks, you will meet the fauna that I had to deal with. Not a big thing, by the way. You know, living in a tropical weather, I think I passed the test. You will need to cover your batch against weather conditions like rain, humidity, direct sunlight, strong winds, and so on. You want to keep your batch almost as a closed system but still interacting with the exterior somehow. Remember that the purpose of this experience is to show you that I'm doing great compost by using what I have available. Accessible items, nothing luxurious. If I can do it, I'm sure you can do it too. And just to finish, my friends, here are some final notes. You're not using any additional water or browns or greens or compost activators. You basically won't be adding anything else at all along the process. Well, maybe I'm missing something. Mother Earth will need something indeed, and that is your drive. I hope you have a very happy compost, my friends. Remember that if you have any comments, any thoughts, place them in the box below. Happy compost, my friends. Ciao, ciao.